Okay, I am back. Hello everyone, how are you? Good? Good. If you aren't good, well, I'm afraid I can't help you as I am only a recording. But moving on, today's video is about Klonoa. Who? I know, right? Who the hell is Klonoa? Well, Klonoa is an old Namco branded platformer series from 25 years ago. So why the hell would you care about a 25-year-old game series so niche that it might as well not exist? Because that old ass game was remastered very recently. In fact, they remastered both of Klonoa's games and packaged them up in something called the Phantasy Reverie Series. And not only did they package them up, but I purchased that package and I played these games. So here I am to give you my thoughts on the Phantasy Reverie series, Klonoa in general, and any other dumb shit that pops into my brain. So let's get into it. Now, I won't leave you in suspense. I'll be speaking mostly positively on what I experienced. But let me say this first. I have no nostalgia or real history with Klonoa. I have never played these games before 2022. My knowledge of Klonoa before these remasters was only what the character Klonoa looked like. And that's because I've always liked platformers, cute gaming mascots, and as you might know if you follow me on Instagram, illustrative art. So when I was in like 6th grade or something, I would always be online looking for artwork I liked of Mario and Sonic and Spyro and Mega Man and Pac-Man. I believe in my search for Pac-Man content, I accidentally stumbled upon an image of Klonoa. And for those of you who don't know this, Klonoa has a great design. So I was just like, oh, who's this cool looking character with Pac-Man on his hat? Oh, he's called Klonoa. He has his own game. And that was the end of my Klonoa journey. Until now. Because now I've actually played Klonoa games. And to be honest, they're pretty nice. In 2022, they're pretty nice. In 2022, they still manage to feel like an innovative take on the platform genre in some aspects. I've never played a platformer quite like this. The closest thing I can think of is Crash Bandicoot. And these do not play like Crash Bandicoot, so I don't fucking know. They're doing their own thing. 25 years after the first game and 21 years after the second, these games manage to feel like they're doing their own thing, which is a remarkable feat if you ask me. The first game is solid enough, it's pretty solid, but it's important to remember that these are remasters, not remakes. So the games aren't built brand new from the ground up with our new technology. Instead, the graphics are just a little touched up, HDified, and some quality of life adjustments are added. So you mostly are playing an old ass game. And what comes with that, unfortunately, are some stiff movements, a lack of responsiveness, different philosophies on difficulty pacing, which we now know as bad pacing. But honestly, the game still remains solid. And the second game in the opening levels seems like it's just the same thing again, but its most meaningful change becomes apparent not too long in, when you realize that they figured out the pacing. The second game is paced a lot better, and it's all the difference between pretty solid and just flat out good. Now let's talk about difficulty, and I'm just going to speak about both games as if they're one. In terms of difficulty, I think the Phantasy Reverie series does exactly what it needs to do. It is a mostly chill and simple time with very few really difficult challenges. But even though a lot of the game's challenges aren't extremely difficult, they make sure you can't get out of a lot of it without trying. And that's what you want a game to do, because that's what keeps you engaged, to make sure you're frequently trying on some level. The game lays off of you and lets you chill, and then it's like, okay, it's time to sit up straight, you're gonna have to try for this part. And see, the first game just pushes all of its challenges to the back. So it just seems like shit just ramps up out of nowhere. But the second game gets it right in spacing the challenges and gradually ramping you up to some actually really good platforming challenges near the end. Not to mention, these games have some clever puzzles in them, especially the second one. Again, they aren't devilishly difficult or anything, but you won't get out of it without using your brain. It was to the point that I'd clear one of these and have to genuinely say to myself, okay, that was a good one. You know, these games, especially the second one for the most part, make sure that you are engaged and that you are having fun. And what more can you ask for? There's not enough challenge to deter you, but just enough to make sure you're not bored out of your fucking mind. And here's the thing. If this is a tester to gauge interest in Klonoa, like, oh, should we make another one? Should we reboot the series? Because I know some publishers like to do that. We all bought the Crash Insane trilogy, and so they made Crash 4. I'm wondering if this is a similar feeler for Klonoa. If it is, count me in. I say do it, because what I played was mostly only held back by its obvious age, and not graphically. I mean some of its design age. But it was creative, innovative, engaging, and impressive despite its age. If I get to control a Klonoa with responsiveness and a modern approach to cutscenes, content, and overall presentation, then I think this will be right up there in competition with the elite platform players. You know, your Crash Bandicoots, your Marios, A Hat in Time. Yes, A Hat in Time is fucking elite, don't be stupid. And listen, I'm not saying Klonoa will get the recognition of Crash, and definitely not Mario, but what I'm saying is I think it will be of that quality. All the series I named have been fortunate enough to have recent entries that allowed them to improve upon the mistakes of the distant past. Phantasy Reverie has not had that chance, and it's still good. So if it does get that chance, well, you do the fucking math. So yeah, I know my word doesn't count for anything, but you know, I'll put it out there anyway. Drop a new Klonoa. If it looks any good, I'll fucking buy it. That's mostly all I wanted to say, but this is also kind of funny because another platformer came out earlier this year attempting to revive a different super niche character and series. That game was KO the Kangaroo. But KO's game was brand spanking new and a complete reboot to the lesser known series. That 2022 reboot of KO is abysmal. With all the knowledge of years past, whoever put together the KO the Kangaroo game still could barely cobble together one of the worst platformers I've ever played in my life. And in the same year, 2022, a couple of remasters of 20-year-old platformers come out and just make KO look all the more stupid. It's funny to me, even from just a mascot standpoint, because the mascot is so important and KO so bad. But Klonoa is wonderful. He has a great, charming, cute, cool design, and it only got better in the second game. They got rid of his stupid collar and turned his hat around, and they fixed his color palette, all that good shit. And yeah, I know KO's a 3D platformer and Klonoa's a 2.5D platformer, but whatever, man. A lot of the same principles apply. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's funny. You know, two lesser known mascots trying to come back in 2022. One is complete shite and the other is legitimately impressive. But as far as Klonoa goes, I think I'd rate the first one about a 6.5 out of 10 and the second game a 7 out of 10. And I'm rating them as a person in 2022. I'm not rating them based on what games were like 20 years ago. How well your game stands the test of time is a reflection of its quality. So I'd say a 6.5 and 7 over 20 years later is quite good. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Klonoa, the Phantasy Reverie Series. Let me know what you think. Did you play this? Do you have thoughts on it? Is it good? Is it bad? Tell me how horrible my opinion is, all that jazz. But until next time, I am Waifu Belector. I am just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I'll buy a new Klonoa game. Goodbye.